if I get a tomato and I eat the tomato, then I have won at gardening.
It's like a different flavor of Sanderson. That's a weird thing to say.
Thanks for letting me ramble my brain out. I feel better now.
The ultra nerds.
Hi there, welcome to the Reading Queens podcast and us talking about books like we do, or a specific author. As you can see by today's title, we're talking about Brandon Sanderson because why wouldn't we? But anyway, I'm Valia. Hello.
I'm Hanna.
I'm Tess.
I'm Abby. Hello.
Yep, and the four of us are here. We're gonna talk and we're gonna have fun. We're already having fun, so let's just get into it. How is everybody doing today?
Do you
I
actually
think we're all
know?
doing better.
Yeah,
I was like, we're all doing better than Hanna.
All right, Abby, let's start with you.
All right. I am in the middle of a DIY binge. So,
Ooh.
yeah, it hit me out of nowhere really hard. And I'm tackling like every single room of the house.
I love
it's
it.
pretty bad. Like, I normally hate DIY. So the fact that I actually want to do it and I'm excited about tackling every single room in the house is kind of a miracle unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like even I'm sitting in my office that I share with my spouse, and my grand plan is to kick him out.
Nice.
So yeah, all this desk mess, it's usually overflowing and like eating the ground. It's all gone. Like it will be gone. I'm so excited. So I'm counting down the days to tackle this room.
Is it his
Love
desk
it.
mess or your desk mess?
Oh, it's his.
He's
It's
the
his.
messy one?
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, when we lived in an apartment, our desks were side by side. So I would have to put up a cardboard barrier because his desk crap would migrate onto mine.
Oh my
and it was
gosh.
so annoying.
That's exactly what my
So,
children
yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Table.
yeah.
It's about the same.
That's
I'm
hilarious.
messier than my husband, so yeah. I don't know.
Hannah, how you doing?
Well, I have a stomach bug, so I wouldn't say awesome. I've been better. I've been worse. On the plus side, last fall I planted like $50 worth of bulbs in my garden, and now I have daffodils and crocuses.
Oh, that's awesome.
It makes me very happy, and I kind of forgot what I planted, so when something comes up, I'm just like, what's it gonna be? Because it was just like a bunch of random different like colors and stuff, so that's
Oh,
pretty
I
sweet.
love that.
And now I want more. I'm like, next year, like
Yeah.
$200 on bulbs. We'll do this.
That's fun.
I always wanted to be one of those people who like gardens and put flowers out, but I just kill everything.
Yeah,
I
so does
know.
Arizona sun, so.
Well, this
Yeah.
is true. Valia, I don't know what I would do there. I always say, like, I started off really, like, I don't know, with low expectations. It's kind of like if I get a tomato and I eat the tomato, then I have won at gardening. Or if, like, any plant survived, I was like, yes, we can build on this. Because I think people think, it's like houseplants. People think that it's, like, some sort of innate gift, but it is not. It's a skill. It's just, you have to learn stuff. So I am still not an amazing gardener, but I do garden and things survive. I planted my first garden, like my first big vegetable garden, and in, would have been like May, because you plant gardens in May here. And then at the end of May, I got pregnant and I just like puked for months. And I remember going out and staring out at my like dead plants and just crying and being like, I'm a terrible plant mother. And my husband would be like, come inside. It's okay.
This is why you need a relative who's into gardening.
Yeah.
'Cause I've got a garden bed, but it's actually my dad's third garden.
Oh, so he just comes
nice.
over and does it?
Yeah.
That's pretty
And so he has my garden, and then he has my sister's garden, and then he has his own garden. So he kind of just rotates the rounds each week.
I love
I
Nice.
do not have a relative like that. I do have a landlady who's an amazing gardener, so she gives me tips. So that's sort of helpful. But I also have to look at her garden, and it looks like really better than mine. And then one like garden over, because you can see like into everyone's gardens where I am, is this adorable little old lady who's been living there for like 60 to 70 years in this one garden spot, and her garden is immaculate and like giant and has all this stuff, and I'm like, do not compare yourself to the old lady gardens. When you are an old lady,
Well, she had
you will have a
60
great
years
garden.
to perfect it.
I know. I know. Yeah, it's... I try not to be disheartened. I'm like, it's okay. My garden is beautiful. Don't compare to other people's gardens. Anyway, this is a long ramble about my gardens. But my daffodils are up. That's my story. Tessonja, how are you doing?
Tess, anything exciting in your world?
I've just been working on getting my next book ready for publication, which is a Throne of Shadows. I got confused about to think about it. A Thorn of Shadows or a throne? Apparently, I forget my own titles. It is a Throne of Shadows, but I've also been watching a lot of the anime Demon Slayer, which is so good. So if anyone's into anime and haven't watched Demon Slayer, this is only like my second like non-Ghibli wholesome, sweet, romantic type anime. The first one was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is also really good. But I watched this one and I'm so obsessed with it. And it's pretty violent, but then just me and my husband talking about it and showing my daughter art of Nezuko, who's like an adorable, scary little demon character. Well, she's not scary. She's scary. She's scary if you're another demon because she'll kick your butt. But we showed her, and then she became obsessed. I'm like, you know what? Let's just let her watch an episode or two and see if she's like all right with it, because she can handle like Marvel level violence and stuff like that. She's watched a lot of like martial arts movies too. She's watched the whole Ip Man trilogy, and she got obsessed too. So I finished it, and literally the next week later, now I'm watching it with my daughter, and she's binging it faster than we did. So I've been like super obsessed with Demon Slayer, and we went shopping and we got like merch that has like the characters on it. Like, we are such nerds, especially me, the adult over here. I'm like, I want a Nezuko shirt. So yeah, that's my life
like,
this week.
Me and my kids will be looking through sticker bins, and they'll be finding stickers for me of my like video game and anime characters I like. You go, Mom. I'm like, thank you.
That's so sweet.
I will put this on my water bottle. I haven't watched Demon Slayer though, but my kids watch it with their friends.
It's so
my middle
good.
daughter's the same age as your daughter, but then I have a 5-year-old, so I'm always like, what can I watch with a 5-year-old? And it's much harder.
Demon Slayer.
Not Demon Slayer. I watched the trailer and I was like, is this gonna be too scary for Hanna? Possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
It's too scary for Hanna.
I could probably handle it, but I thought, I'm like, I'm fine with anime. And then I watched Attack on Titan and I was like, well.
Oh, I've heard that one's a little bit. That's like the next one
horrifying.
My husband wants me to watch, but he said that one might be a little like beyond what he knows what I would like. He knew I would like Demon Slayer and Full Metal Alchemist, but he's like, maybe. He's like, I don't know about that one. I'm like,
it's
okay.
really well made, but I was just like a constant state of anxiety the entire time I watched it.
Perfect.
But just like, you have to watch the next episode. But I was like, you know.
need a stress ball.
Gosh.
But then they stopped for 2 years to make the next season, and I was like, I'm going back to this. It's out now. This is ages ago. We could talk about anime some other time. I have a lot of anime.
Yeah, we should have an episode.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Sanderson.
Brandon Sanderson. Anyway, let's talk about him.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, we kind of have to talk about him because we all enjoy his books and he's been making a lot of waves in the world lately. So let's talk about his Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
The big discussion right off the bat.
So the main thing that stood out to me was not how much money he made on Kickstarter, which did not surprise me at all, but the fact that he wrote like 4.5 books in between his other books.
He already writes
so was it in 1 year or 2 years? And I was like, he's like, I got all this free time because I'm not traveling, and I accidentally wrote like 4 books in a kid's book.
Like, but you already write like your other books for your publisher, and you're working on like a bunch of those.
I just feel like this it's also just good for, I don't know, indies get flack sometimes for putting books out fast, right? They're like, nobody can write that fast and have it be of any sort of quality. And I don't think anyone can say that Brandon Sanderson's books are not of good quality. Like, they're usually incredibly well written. And he already puts out almost as many words as somebody who puts out like a 50,000 word novel a month.
Yeah, his books are super long.
They're
for him
so
to
big.
him to write like, you know, a couple of that size books a year is like some other people's like 10 books.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Valia's 20. Depends on the series. No, I do think that's a really good point because we've talked about this too outside of the podcast. But, you know, there's people who are always like, oh, indies must have ghostwriters, or you're not writing your own books. Like, there's no way you can write so many books at the same time, blah, blah.
Or they're just tropey garbage and people just like them for the romance, but they're not good.
Right. It is usually romance authors that get the most flack for this. Let's just be honest. And I'm like, well, no, this is like a perfect example. I was like, no, it can be done. It can be done well. You just because you had a bad experience with the book doesn't mean that all of the authors fall into the exact same category, you know? And my biggest takeaway from his Kickstarter was like, yeah, it was cool to see how many books he can write when he had the time, but also like the love his fans have for him.
Oh yeah.
And just like the excitement. I'm like, oh, I want to be on this level.
Yes, I know.
Like, that's incredible. And to have a team. Also, okay, I do everything myself. So I'm like, to have a team behind you that like can help you with all of this, that would be cool. Not that I don't know my queens. I feel like we're a team, but it's different.
True. But we're not your team. We all got our stuff
right.
going on.
Yes.
Yeah. What stood out to me was his editing process.
Okay.
I've been thinking a lot more about my own editing process and stuff because he brought out each of the stacks and he, like, at some point in one of his videos just mentioned they're all like first drafts, and yet he's already announcing them like they're coming out next year, and then this year in between his other books he's like editing, rewriting them. So just, I don't know, it was like, oh, he only does like a 2-pass type of editing pass, I don't know, however you say that. So I don't know, that stood out to me because I always imagine with like, because he is more trad pub, like the multiple stages and revision rounds and stuff, but it looks like he's only doing 2.
Well, and these ones are going to be indie, so maybe they'll have less rounds.
Yeah.
But I think he also has
have more rounds.
Like, speaking of team, like he also has people checking his his continuity and things like that,
right.
which we have to do in our editing drafts. But he has people.
Yeah,
he has like someone who keeps his wiki straight for all his world building and checks all the continuity.
Could someone do that for me, please? That'd be cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
I'm working on my second novel, and I'm still like, wait.
I think it's cool too because of the way, like the process, the way the traditional publishing works, there's so many rounds of edits. And so I feel like an author who's been through that, especially at the capacity of his books, like it's easier for him when he writes. I mean, I wouldn't say easier, but I think he's a lot more inclined to notice things and see things going over it once or twice versus as many times, because I feel like even in my career, the more I edit and the more I write, the more I figure out my like the way I write, that I have to go back less to make sure things are working or edit. You know what I mean? It's like my biggest struggle is literally grammar, like not the storytelling, just the grammar. I'm like, I'm sorry, readers, I am Russian, okay? I don't know anything about grammar, but that's why I have editors.
I would say,
you know?
I'm English and I know nothing about punctuation, so I speak
There
English.
you go.
I'm Canadian. Not English.
But because he has, I think he has that base of like going through all of those very tedious rewrites and edits, because oh my goodness, like some of my traditional published friends, I'm just like, I'm so sorry, like I want to hug you through all the editing process, you know. But yeah, and he's just like, his brain just works in such a like fascinating way, and having a team, I think all of those like help him.
And a lot of these are standalones, right? The ones he's releasing. Yeah. I think there's only one that's Cosmere related.
But it's still a standalone.
Or like directly.
I think they're all standalones, but like I think at least
some of them are in the world.
Yeah, they're still connecting the world, which I guess maybe I don't know how many people want to be surprised. I think there are. I think he's trying to make it so I'm not gonna say what's what, because if you're trying to be surprised and you're listening to this, I won't say what I was about to say. But at least 2 of them, off the top of my head, are Cosmere, if not 3 of the 4. Because I've read all of them.
So he'll still need the continuity between.
Yeah.
Between those. Okay, so can we just like mention that, because people who are coming into Brandon Sanderson for the first time or coming in from his young adult sci-fi books wouldn't know about this, but Cosmere is like the world that he created, which has like the Mistborn, Raybreaker? Is that one in it too?
Warbreaker.
Warbreaker.
Yes.
Is that
that's
it
Cosmere.
is.
Yeah, so is it all of his?
It's not, well, Mistborn, Stormlight, and Warbreaker, and Elantris. And
I think Skyward, right?
Skyward is not Cosmere.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's the young adult sci-fi,
I don't think any of his young adult.
Skyward.
That and his Reckoners.
Yeah, those are separate from the Cosmere.
Yeah, so that's like his big world.
Oh,
in
and
case
then
you guys
Mistborn
were
Era
wondering.
too, which is
Right, yeah. I'm just counting
yeah.
that as Mistborn. I was like,
Yeah,
all the
that-
Mistborn things.
All the Mistborn things. Yeah, I saw like somebody talking about, it's like, how do I start reading Brandon Sanderson? And I'm like, guys, like, it's really easy. Just pick a book. And
yeah,
I
you
was
can
like,
honestly
no.
do whatever you want, really. There's really
Yeah.
no right or wrong way to do it. I started with Mistborn because that's like the one that I had heard of the most, and I saw the covers of the because it's not a YA book, but is sometimes marketed as YA, and there is a YA cover edition, which I just really like the art for.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I got those, and I really like those covers. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick the one with the covers that I like the most.
Yeah.
And so I got those ones, read those first, and then I went back and I think I read the his standalones, his like non-trilogy standalones, and then I think I read Mistborn Era 2. But yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want because it's not like his Cosmere books are not connected in the way that like if you read Mistborn but then a different series at once, you're gonna be like, oh, what's going on? It's just you're gonna have Easter eggs, and maybe you're gonna see this name of this one character, and then you'll also see them in this other book, and it doesn't really matter like the order that you get that information in. You might notice it differently depending on which order you read them in, but like. Yeah, whenever I see that people stressing out, I'm like, just read a book, pick the one that looks good.
Yeah.
If you like his books, like, don't force yourself to read in order of publication because some people won't want to start at which one's first? Is it Elantris or Warbreaker?
Elantris.
Elantris is
Yeah,
Elantris
some
was
people
his first
some
one.
people aren't going to want to start at Elantris, and honestly, I probably wouldn't have been super excited starting there. I really liked Warbreaker because it had a pretty good romance in that one. So that's like a good one to start if you like romance. But yeah.
And I didn't start with
wherever you
Elantris,
want.
and I still haven't read Elantris because I keep forgetting I have it, but and that it exists. But because it's his debut, I sometimes figure like some authors kill it with their debut and nothing else is as good. But I do not believe anyone thinks that's the case with him. So I was like, it's a standalone, it's a debut, and the cover I don't really like. So I just
I know the covers can really like deter you. Like,
Yep.
oh, but it's I could be holding a book that has a much prettier cover, or like
exactly.
one that has a better tactile experience.
And it gives me a
Tactile.
vibe, and I hold that vibe as I read. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that is a good
like,
point.
So
like a
funny.
mood for it, and the mood of that one,
It is a
I don't
good book,
know.
though.
It's like a weird brown color, my cover, and I don't
Oh.
want to read
I
a
have
weird
the same
brown
one
book.
that you have.
Yeah,
I have the green one, which I think is like I don't know if it's the original, but I feel like there is an edition. So I searched for Mistborn covers that I wanted before I bought them and read them. And it was the UK
Yeah, those are
white
pretty.
covers with just like the outline, the black and the blue.
And
And I
all
love
those
those.
I
masks
love those.
match for all his books, don't they? Isn't,
Yes,
every
they have
single
them, but I have to,
UK
like-
one matches.
Yeah, but I have to like order them
Mm-hmm.
outside of US because they don't sell them in the US. It's very annoying. But I feel like Elantris might have a cover like that.
Oh,
and
I
I've
think it
been like
does.
version to have.
looking for it and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, I want it. I don't know why I want it. I just like really want it.
I feel like even if I read the ebook and it has a different cover on the ebook, I'll still be like, I know this book is brown and you can't fool me.
That's so funny to me.
It's part. I think it's part of the whole like, whatchamacallit, sensate thing. Like not. I can't remember what it's called. The one where like numbers have colors and words have
Oh,
colors.
synesthesia.
Yes, that thing.
Yeah, my sister has that.
that thing I have. I feel like it bleeds into my book reading. Perhaps.
Like this
So
book is
interesting.
brown, and
Who wants a brown
that-
book? No one.
Well, I get the cover thing, but it wasn't until you guys started talking that I realized every Sanderson book that I've read, except one of them, I've read via audio.
Oh,
And it wasn't-
interesting.
Yeah, and it wasn't on purpose. It just happened to be that way. But yeah, I've read them all on audiobook.
My
I
husband
mean, they're
loves the
50, 60
audiobooks.
hours long.
I was gonna say, those
They're
are some
so
long audiobooks.
long.
Yeah. But yeah, I can like paint or do something or go for walks and
Yeah.
it like
For months.
it's a big enough story. Yeah. Well, like keeps me like interested for months. And so I don't know. But yeah, so I never associated a cover or a color with it.
Interesting.
I've always
Okay.
and then audio because I read so fast, whereas audio slows me down, so it sinks in a little deeper for me. Audio,
Okay.
so it's easier for me to keep track of characters actually
Oh,
when it's
interesting.
audio, because it just I don't know, it like soaks in more. So because I don't know, I'll read it, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I don't really pronounce characters' names.
Oh, no.
Like, I just see the name. And, like,
that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, and like, and so if two names look alike, sometimes
I know exactly that.
I mix them up.
Yep.
But if it's audio, they're pronounced differently. So I'm like, oh, this character is this. And
That's
I don't know.
funny. I never thought of that. I guess that does help. Like, I mean, I will say that I listen to every single audio on 2x speed ever since I learned that I could do that. So I don't know if I process the information as slow, but I do think that name thing, that does help, because once you hear it pronounced, then you're like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Instead of like, oh, it's that girl's name who starts with an N and there's like a Y in there. I'm just going to look at it and know who that is.
That's how I do it.
And then you go to talk about the book with someone, and both of you are doing that, and neither of you know what the name is.
No
one
knows
the
how to
girl,
pronounce
you know,
it.
the girl.
I was gonna ask actually, Abby, if you listen at like regular speed or fast speed.
I do usually 1.2 or 1.1.
So just a little
So-
nudge faster.
Yeah, just a little bit, like enough where, because if it's 1.0, it's too slow, and I don't like the pauses.
Lots of
But
pauses, yeah.
Yeah, and I hate that. But 1.2 is just enough where there's no pauses, but I don't have to like just sit there in a chair,
Right?
And, like pay attention. I can multitask.
Yeah,
And
that
soak
makes
it in.
sense. I was trying to think. I was like, I've listened to it on like the fastest, not the fastest setting, but what is it? Is it like 2.5 is like the fastest or something? Maybe there's like a 3.
Yeah.
Not even I go there.
I've definitely been over 2 before, and it was really funny
Wow.
because I was listening to it was like a Sandra Brown thriller mystery or something like that when I was working in like the file room, and so all I was doing is putting away files like alphabetically. And so I listened to like that whole book in like 3 hours, and I think it's like a 7-hour book or something, I don't know.
Oh my god.
But I remember thinking that I was like, oh, I can actually like commit to fantasy books now, because when it's this fast, like once you start listening to it, your brain adjusts, right? And you can like listen to it faster. So I always been like intimidated by fantasy books on audio, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna spend like
2 months.
so long on this book. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna hate it by the time it's done. So I should try that. Like I should see if like his books, because I feel like I always miss out on his books because they're so intimidating, because they're so big.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, maybe I should try it on audio and just like speed read it, listen to it and see how it goes. And then all the names will sound different for me because they're saying them really, really
I know, like,
fast. Yeah.
I was about to say I
shall
never
come back to
listened
that.
to audiobooks, and then I remembered that I've only ever finished 2 audiobooks, and one of them was a Brandon Sanderson one.
Funny.
Because we did a road trip with the kids, obviously because I have kids, and we listened to Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians,
Oh, okay.
which was super cute, and I keep meaning to finish that series with them, but the library only had book 1 for free on audio, so I never quite liked.
Okay, why don't you listen to audio? That like really intrigues me.
Okay, to start with, I do like listening to things. Like, I'm a podcast junkie. But audiobooks, it's a combination of getting really annoyed by the narrators. Sometimes I'm just like, you just say everything weird. I don't know. Like, I had one where I was trying to listen, and she had the guy in this like dopey Eastern European accent that just sounded like she was fake. I don't know. It was a terrible accent. And he was supposed to be the love interest, and I was like, hard pass. He sounds like an English story. You need to learn to do accents. And then just it taking too long. It just takes too long. I can read really quickly, and I don't really want to spend 2 months on this book usually. So I keep wanting to, though, and I do try them, and I'll try them from the library, and I'll be like, because next year when my kid's going to be in school, and I'm hoping to do more art, like, it is really nice for art to listen to audiobooks, but I always just end up just watching Gilmore Girls again, and it's like an audiobook. They just talk all the time, and I listen to that.
So interesting. I think I like fantasy and audiobook because it takes 2 months. So I feel like I get like more bang for my buck.
Sure.
But then I'm also like reading at the same time, just a different book. Like I might be reading a thriller on my Kindle or whatever. So if I want to sit down and just read something fast, I have options for that. But if I'm like, I think it's just multitasking when I'm multitasking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like I love
something.
listening to stuff.
Multitasking.
And I do listen
And
to
commute.
nonfiction audiobooks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think is
I
fine.
started
See, I don't
with
like
nonfiction
nonfiction.
audiobooks too. Like, I never listened to a fiction book for like, I listened to nonfiction audiobooks for like 3 years straight, and then finally I tried fiction. I was like, oh, let's see if I like it, because I think I was starting like a really long commute. I think it was when I was going to school, and I was going to be on like a freaking bus or whatever that train on rails thing is called. It's not a train, but it's like a
cable
train.
car?
It's like it's not a cable car. Maybe it is just called a train. It's kind of like a subway, but it's above ground. If you live in the Washington State, you know what I'm talking about. We call it the light rail. That's what
I was going to say, it's a
like,
light rail, isn't it?
yeah, okay, that's what it is. It took me a while to get there, but I did. So I was going to be on there for like hours a day, and then I started listening to audiobooks, and that was my first time listening to them, and I was like, okay, this is cool, because I don't have to listen to people's conversations. It's not like I can do anything else right now. I can't read while moving, so I couldn't read a book.
Right.
So it was like the only thing I could do if I didn't feel like listening to music. So that got me into audiobook listening.
Yeah. Again, if I had a commute, I probably would like struggle through and find the good ones. But as it is, I keep like, I'll try one new one every couple of months and be like, meh.
It's funny, when I started to try to listen to audiobooks, they were back on like CDs at the library.
Oh,
You could,
yeah.
like, grab them.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but my library just had like Sarah Dess and everything. So I was like, I'll just try one of hers. And I hated it because I couldn't go faster. And all the story, I'm like, this is just like boring me to tears. Sorry, but no thank you, you know? And so then I was at a book event, and I met, actually my dream agent was there because she represents my friend. And I was like, oh yeah, I've been trying to do audiobooks, blah, blah. And she's just like, listen to Amy Poehler's new book. She reads it herself. She has guests. It's the most engaging thing. It like introduces you to audiobooks in the most perfect way. And so I did. And after that, I was like, oh, okay. So then I like found genres that worked for me. This is a completely different conversation that we were going for.
Lost Brandon Sanderson.
It's like, what? I love our all over the place stuff. But anyway, now I want to read a Brandon Sanderson book on audio.
My
because
husband
I'm
loves
curious.
his narrator, so
Okay.
I think. I can't remember if it's Wheel of Time or I think it's Wheel of Time that does the male-female narrator, because it's the same narrator who does the Wheel of Time books, and that's like where he liked them. And but yeah, the male narrator does most of Brandon Sanderson's books, unless I'm getting all my facts confused, so don't hold me to it. But either way, my husband has listened to all of his audiobooks, and he loves them, and that's like his favorite
I can get my husband to listen to them. Okay, here's my thing, in which I still haven't read Rhythm of War, even though I pre-ordered it. On ebook, by the way, because my husband refuses to read them in hardcover, and I don't blame him, because those books are
ginormous.
Like, they're weapons. They're so pretty.
They are.
They're so pretty, but like painful to but he reads really slow and in spurts, and is currently rereading Steven Erickson's books, which I like. They're giant, and there's a million of them. So he's been rereading Steven Erickson for like a year and a half, 2 years, something, at the rate he reads. And I'm like, but I want a buddy read it with him. But that's also kind of an excuse, because it's a really big book that I've been avoiding. But maybe if I could get him to listen to the audiobook when he is on his commute, and then I could read it, and we could keep pace.
Yeah, there you go.
See, because it's more fun if you buddy read than if someone reads a book that you read last year and you're trying to remember the funny stuff. You know?
Yeah.
If you can, or even like, you don't even have to be buddy reading at exactly the same time, but if it's like kind of similar, it's more fun.
Yeah, or at least like really close together, so you can be like, oh yeah, I just
Or just
read
back
that
to
part,
back
blah,
or
blah, blah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. I do that with Valia a lot. She'll be like, oh, I read this book and it's good. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it next. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this part. Oh my gosh, I hated this part. And then I do that with my husband too. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to read all of Jay Kristoff's book. And then we're like, oh my gosh, did you get to this part yet? And he's like, yeah, I did.
And that's how our conversations go.
And then we if a person who reads second has more fun, I think, because they get to read out loud to the other person, whereas the first person is like, when you get to this part I can't tell you about.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but here, bringing it back to Sanderson, is, see, I don't want to like spoilerize
We're so
it.
all over the place.
I know. I told you guys, there's not been a lot of sleep. But there is a character from one of the Cosmere books that shows up in other Cosmere books that when I got to that part, I was so excited. Do you know who I'm talking about, Tessonja? And I I squealed. I was so excited. So then I was like waiting for him to get to that part, because he was just a few chapters behind me. I'm like watching him while he reads, you know? Like, have you got to the part yet? He didn't remember that character.
Oh,
I was like, how did you not like notice? I was like, it's crazy.
Gosh.
How did they get there? What's happening? And he's like, what?
That's something I actually
love it.
really
It's a
like
letdown.
about his books is the interconnectedness of them.
It
like
is
just
fun.
having one big giant universe.
Yeah.
Like I just love when authors do that, and it just makes it fun. And
It's like a treat for the fans.
yeah, I always wish I could pull that off, but I just don't have any ideas that would fit that. But then also, I can't imagine sitting there and planning out like 60 books. And like, this arc is going to take this 10-book thing, and this arc is going to take this and combine in this. And man, that's just so cool to me.
It is cool. I have cameos of my characters in my other books, but they're all one book standalones. So it's not like this 10-book series intersects with this 6-book series. It's amazing.
I think it helps that Sanderson's books are all on a different planet. So instead of him having to have one world and having to, every time he creates a new series, have to give it the same exact rules as that world that he's already created, he basically has the freedom of making a completely brand new series with completely different rules and disregarding a lot of the other rules, but he has these overarching things that connect them so that they still make sense in the universe. And I think that's really cool because, like, I feel like that gives the freedom to make a brand new story and to get readers excited about a brand new type of magic. And then it's only like, we don't really even know 100% as readers how his Cosmere is going to connect, only that it will. So it's real. I think that's really fun. I think that's like one of the cool things about his Cosmere universe that's a little bit different from just writing in like one world or one country and just trying to connect things there.
Well, it plays to his strengths. Like, that's what he's
His
good at, is world building.
So good, yeah.
And it's so unique, and that's what he's good at. And so it plays to that.
I mean, have you guys ever gone deep down the rabbit hole of his fan
Oh my gosh, I hear
theories?
that my husband goes there.
So there are people who definitely have opinions. So like, he once said this one thing, which because it's Brandon Sanderson, he probably like therefore has planned it, right? Like, it's not just randomness. But yeah, I've read it helps me sometimes when I'm trying to like remember previous things, or I'm like, I'm sure things connect, but I want to know how have the ultra nerds laid all this out for me.
The ultra nerds.
Right.
You know, I'm just like a mini nerd. I'm a nerd
Hannah's
about
just
a
like
lot
a
of
little
things.
nerd.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm a nerd across a spectrum of interests, and some people I think are very like specific.
It's their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
We
I want to
sh-
know what these people think.
Yeah, that's definitely amazing. Okay, so I have a question. Do you guys have a favorite Brandon Sanderson book?
Ooh, that is good.
You can go first.
I do
Silence.
have.
I was like,
I'll go.
silence.
I had to think.
Okay.
I do have a soft spot for the Mistborn series just because that was the first of his I discovered. But I really liked his Reckoners one.
That's the only of his I haven't read.
Oh, it's fun.
Oh,
It's
and
super
Alcatraz. I
fun.
haven't listened to Alcatraz. I haven't read Alcatraz either.
You should do Alcatraz
Neither of
and
his,
Nova.
his like his younger ones, except for Skyward. I haven't read those.
Yeah. The Reckoners is just a fun way to interpret superheroes. And I devoured them. They were so good. But I think my favorite character, though, is Kaladin from the
I do
Way
love
of Kings
Kaladin.
series.
Oh, Kaladin.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince my husband to, like, hey, consider this for our baby name list. But I don't want to tell him, like, I don't want to tell him what it's from. He's like, oh, it's from, like, a book. Like, I don't want to name our kid that.
It's such
So
a
I'm
good
like-
name, though.
Right?
Oh, I
It is
love
a
that
really
baby
pretty name. I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm trying to sneak it in there.
Yeah.
Do it. Sneak it in there. Can we vote? Can you be like, the quiz
have-
gets a vote?
Do we get
Oh
a
my
vote?
gosh. You can. I have literally 100 names of like boy names and girl names that we've been collecting for over 10 years.
Whoa.
Aw,
Yeah.
I
So
love it. It's so cute. Okay, anyway. Sorry.
sorry guys.
I got all excited. Okay, Hannah, do you have a favorite book?
I have been trying to think about this because I like it's easy for me to come up with characters I like, but I did really love Skyward because it was like super fast paced and emotional, and the banter was incredibly on point with Skyward. But I also, me who have not finished Rhythm of War or started it, I do really love the Stormlight books and I love the characters in it, but I cannot remember what happens in which book. So I will just say the first 3 Stormlight Archive books. Maybe the
Yeah.
third one. What was that one? Words of Radiance.
No. Oathbreaker.
Oath. I thought
Yeah, no. It's one of those two. It's one of those two.
Oathbringer. Oathbringer is number 2, I think. Because I always get Oathbringer and Warbreaker mixed up.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it's Oathbringer. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, so that's fun.
Okay, Tess.
It's a hard question because I feel like I have characters that I like best from like every series. Like I'm obsessed with Mbot. Is like I love his non-human
Mbot.
sidekick characters. Mbot is like one of my favorite characters from the Skyward series. I love Tensoon from the Mistborn series. I love all the little Spren because they're basically like fairy creatures from the Stormlight Archives.
I love Pattern so much.
Oh my gosh, Pattern's so good, and Syl, they're just so cute. But
cute.
like I don't know, it's
and Nightblade.
Nightblade. Yep, Nightblade's
Nightblade is one of my
good
favorite characters ever.
Yeah, it's so hard. But I also just have to give love to Mistborn Era 2 because it has a lot of it's really different than like his other ones. It has like an Old West feel, and it also has like a mystery feel. There's always some kind of mystery, and they got a boss. There are some trains. It's like got a lot of my ids, like things that make me happy, like the era, the kind of clothes that they wear. And the banter between Wax and Wayne is like really good. Wayne is freaking hilarious.
His hats.
Yeah, and we also get some of the Khandra. I love the Khandra. So it's like sometimes I think I want to say that series is my favorite, but I think it's because they're all my favorite. But I'm just gonna say I'm giving love to that one.
all.
I refuse to pick a favorite. But I'm going to give some love to that series. And we're getting book 4 from that series, I'm pretty sure, at the end of this year. And I'm so excited. I think it's the final book in the Mistborn Era 2. So, yes! I will say the only thing that made me very disappointed was that I feel like Brandon Sanderson set up a romance between Marasi and Wax in book 1. And they ended up not being endgame. Sorry if that spoils it for anybody, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm
for me who hasn't read it.
Yeah, I'm going to root for these characters because clearly, according to tropes and being a romance reader that I am, I'm like, okay, I see the tropes. They're going to end up together. And they don't. And I was like,
nope.
What? I was so betrayed. I was like, are you serious? And so I had
Sanderson
to like
does that,
emotionally...
though.
Yeah,
he
I had
does.
to emotionally detach myself and like okay, I can see there's another love interest for Marasi, and okay, fine, I guess what's the
That's what I was just looking up. I forgot her
character's
name.
But
That's
I really like her, but I feel like she was set up as a character that wasn't supposed to be super likable because you were supposed to like Marasi better. That I had to force myself to like look back and realize how much I liked the other character, the actual love interest.
I have to say that's hilarious because it's actually not my favorite series of his. I think just because I kept like, I don't know. Something about the plot wasn't pulling me through quite as quickly. But the romance is the thing I like the best about it. Because I loved how she was like not the cool one.
Yeah.
And then she turned out to be like badass.
Yeah,
awesome.
I did end up liking her.
I loved her so much.
Once I let go of realizing that Marasi was not the love interest I was supposed to be rooting for, I was like, okay, I can look back and see that she's actually really cool. And my husband says, like, when he was listening to the audiobook, he's like, how come this character is just you? I'm like, okay, I can see that. She has her list. She is very, like, I don't know, it's pretty funny. Like, you mean I'm not the really go-getter, crime-fighting, sweet one? I'm the, like... the more like weird one.
Checklist planner.
Of course I am. Steris. Yeah. Okay, that's her name.
I was one of those like I was with you. I was like going for the other one, but when it started to work out between him and Steris, I was like, I am here for this.
It did end up getting really cute. So
they're adorable, and
yeah,
just like I don't know. Sometimes the like awkward girl should get the guy, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Now, is there going to be a Mistborn Era 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
he actually said his plan was to write Mistborn Era 3. There's supposed to be 4 eras. Because I've read all the Cosmere Nerds websites.
Yeah. I love the
know.
evolution of history.
But then he got
like,
distracted. It's like he was like world building forward to like, because it was going to be he wanted like past, present, future kind of thing compared to our world. And he was world building forward and then got really distracted by the Old West. It's like, wow, there's so much metal. It's like, you got guns, you got all this. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love that like,
yes,
world building.
introducing
It's so
guns
fun.
into his metal magic
Metal
system
magic.
was wonderful.
That's cool. I haven't read that series, so I need to.
It's a little more fast paced than the other one. So if you're feeling like a little, just a little like the other ones are just a little too slow, especially the first one, it really has that like classic like mystery vibe. Like you gotta like figure out what's going on. That's what I really like about them. It's just different than the other ones. It's like a different flavor of Sanderson. That's a weird thing to say.
I think it's it
That's
doesn't
true.
have any non-human characters though, I think. And that
Just
might
the
be
Condra, and the Condra are
part of what I
we
was
have
missing, too.
Meilon in that one, and she's hilarious.
right. Oh, I need to go back to it.
She's one of my favorite Condra characters. But yeah, we don't
'Cause-
really get them shaped like dogs. I think maybe Tensoon might be in that, but I don't remember.
I don't. Oh yeah,
He's
no, I think
he's
so.
definitely there, but I don't think he's like really a main character. But Tensoon is like one of my favorites. I like really wanted a dog, so I can name him Tensoon. Oh yeah, he definitely exists because I remember there's like an illustration of the broadsheets in that, and it's like get your very own Soonie pup, and it's like because
Right.
Tensoon is like a famous character by this point from his involvement in Mistborn Era 1, and I was like, I want a Soonie pup.
That's so cute.
That's cute. I was trying to think of like all the books that I read by him, but I think the first Mistborn book, like from the first series, is my favorite. And
It
I
is
think
really
it
good.
has mainly to do with the whole like the found family aspect of
Yeah.
like them taking her in and like that whole like father figure, like that whole situation. I was like, do we spoil things in this one? Anyway, I was very angry by the end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so
Yep.
shocking.
It was so shocking, and I almost like did not finish that series because I was so angry and I had to like take a break, but I finished it and whatever, and I still love that book the best out of the three, which is funny because I know some people are like, no, like it gets better. I'm like, no, it was the best for me, the first one.
It
But
does have really good heist vibes.
I like the
it
heist
does,
aspect.
yeah. It definitely hits my ids in that aspect of like, you know, well, that stuff like the found family and the heists and the relationships that are just like the grumpy dad or whatever older brother situation, whatever. Anyway, but I think that the Heir 2 would be, you said this the second one, right? The second series?
Yeah, the first
In
one. What's the
Mistborn?
first one? Like Alloy of Law? Is that what the first book of this Era 2 is called?
Yeah,
one of
Guys,
them
I think I have it.
Ooh, yeah, you should
Wait.
read it. It's fun.
Okay, because
Who is
there-
surprised?
Side note, no. Okay, I know I have a bookshelf behind me, but no, I was at like Half Price Books or something like that years back, right? And there was just one little book all the way in the back corner, and I was like, why does that look familiar? And I pulled it out, and it was the UK version of that book.
Oh, nice.
So it actually matches my final or like my Mistborn books. And I didn't have to go out of country to find it. That's the only time I've ever seen them here. So I think I have it, but I never read it because I was like, well, what am I going to do with this one book? Like, I didn't even look into it, you know, but I wanted it because it was like $3.
funny.
I don't know. So I was very excited. Anyway, but if I have it, then that means I can read it like immediately.
Yeah.
There
Because
you
that's
go.
what I do, obviously. Okay, so my other question was what we love most about his writing, but we kind of just like covered all of that already. So I don't know, like I just want to be on his level. Can we do that? Can somebody let me swallow some metal that lets me be on his level?
This is like how I was whining at some of you guys in our chat the other day that I was like, I can't even keep track of my human fairy timeline properly, and I want to be Brandon Sanderson. There is a gap here.
His
There is a
books are
gap.
so complex. And one of the things I really like about his writing, especially since it contrasts how complex his books, characters, and world building is that his writing
Yes.
style is so simple. It is very straightforward, especially when
Yes.
you're reading like a 1,200-page book by him. You like... I love flowery, poetic, beautiful metaphors and like really beautiful prose. But like if I'm reading a 1,200-page book with the most complex world building that's already hurting my brain and 1,000 characters that I have to keep track of, I'm like, give me a straight up sentence. Give it short, give it fast, and I just want to know what you're trying to say without having to read between the lines. And that's him.
Yeah, he makes epic accessible.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep, totally.
And it never feels slow.
Yeah. No, I 1,000% agree. Like, that's why I love it. So I don't have to like lift weights in my brain. I can just sink into it and follow it.
Yeah.
And then we feel smart too.
Yes.
Exactly.
Everyone wins.
I do think it's his superpower, like, to make it accessible. Because even with, like, his Kickstarter, right, he made that so accessible to people. Like, it wasn't something that was, like, off-putting or weird or anything, you know? Like, it sounds weird, but it's, like, that whole, like, every man's man kind of thing. Like, he has that, like, what we were talking about today, that woo. Like, he can, like, he's, like, very, like, approachable and whatever. And he pulls that into his books, too, which okay, so this is gonna sound weird, but I love the contrast because typically when you think of like nerds and like epic fantasy writers, you think of them a completely different kind of a
species.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're like little hermits and they're just like, over here writing my books, you know, kind of thing. But he's like, I don't know, he's just like such a different.
It's very personable.
Yeah, because like we talked about like meeting him and stuff. Some of us have met him. I met him and I was so shocked. Really? Yeah, like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was at BEA and he was signing like excerpts of Skyward, and they weren't giving like full galleys. So like for some reason nobody wanted to be in his line, right? So there's like his line was really short, and I'm like, do you guys just like not know who Brandon Sanderson is? But my friend was
one time the line is short.
Yeah, so my friend was at another line and she was just like, oh, I'll stay here. And I was like, okay, fine, then I'm going to this thing by myself. So I went over there and he signed my book and we just started talking. Like I asked him, you know, I told him I was a writer and I asked him about, you know, how do you like deal with writer's block and whatever. And he's just like talking and his assistant is like, okay, you do actually have people in line. Like you can keep talking and stuff. And he like let me take pictures until I was satisfied with them. I was like, thanks, I'm a dork.
Sweet.
But like,
that's the type of author I want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like he made me so happy, and just like because he's so approachable and like just genuinely cares about his fans, and I just love that so much. And so it like makes me want to read his books, even if they do make my brain hurt a little bit because I'm not as smart as you guys when it comes to words. So sometimes I'm like, but you guys are correct. He does make epic fantasy way more approachable than other authors that I've tried to read, which makes it so much better for me because I want to be smart.
And I was gonna say, like, he also really cares about baby authors, like, which you could tell from his podcast, which is how I found out about him. I was just listening to Writing Excuses because I needed an author podcast, and then I was like, I guess I should read Mistborn now. So I did. I was like, oh, it's cool. It's really good. And then that he like backed like almost every publishing Kickstarter when his Kickstarter did well,
I saw that.
Which is like, I don't know, I just feel like he does care about the writing community and about and he teaches, you know, a course all the time, and so like I'm not surprised he was willing to talk to you, because I feel like if someone wants to talk about writing, he's like,
I know. But you know, there's other authors who like won't even, they don't care. They're like, okay, cool, you're a writer, all right, moving on, buy my book, bye. You know, and I'm like, yeah, and it's just cool to have like, there's a couple of authors that I've met that I've always thought would like, I don't know, had like a preconceived notion about how they will be because of like things I've heard about the type of an author it is, you know, if they're like whatever, if they write this, that they're gonna be grumpy, and if they write this, they're gonna be like this, whatever. But I like love being surprised by people, and he really surprised me, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. There's been a couple like that where I'm just like, oh, thanks guys for restoring my faith in humans.
Yeah, I wish I could talk to like him in person, but okay, this is gonna sound weird. I really want to meet his wife. Like
okay,
because just people
like, what's he actually like?
Yeah, or just like people, like you can tell so much about somebody based on if they have one, like who their significant other is. Like there's something about you that drew like them to you and vice versa. Like what is that? How do you run a team? What's it like being married to someone with such a high output, like who is in the spotlight? I mean, not like celebrity standard, but writing, like in the writing community, he's in the spotlight. Like how do you manage that as like the person who's their number one teammate? Like that's
and
just
the person
so
they write
interesting
books
to me.
for. Oh.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
All right, Mrs. Sanderson, if you're listening, we want to talk to you.
Yeah, like
No, that's true. I always wonder about that too, because I don't know. It's
because they put up with a lot. Like like
I know how I am, and
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
imagine. Like, that's true. Okay. On that note, no. Any other pressing thoughts we want to talk about here? No?
Oh, I will say one thing.
Okay.
I do love that we're all like Brando Sando nerds, but like I just also love the community. Just everyone who loves his books, and that you can just talk about it with anybody. And
Yeah.
You know what?
It's just
He's
fun.
got a good fandom. There are some people who have toxic fandoms, and it's unfortunate.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's probably an aspect of his fandom that's probably toxic, who's like, no, if you don't believe in this fan theory, then you are wrong. But he seems to just have a really good, happy, kind, friendly fandom, and I love that.
Yeah. Like I can't tell you how many people I've like ran into at an event or something, and we'll talk about books, and his name inevitably comes up, and all of a sudden we're instant friends. And it's just I don't know, you don't have that a lot with other books, so I just like that.
Aw.
Adorable. Anyway, guys, read his books if you haven't. We gave you lots to think about. No,
Start wherever.
no, yeah,
Start
start wherever.
Read a
Just
book.
start.
Have a good time.
Try it audio.
Yeah.
It's too scary.
So many options. You don't have to be intimidated. You can just do it. You can. Yeah, he's got a lot of options for you guys. But anyway, we will wrap it up here. If you do have a favorite Sanderson book, let us know what it is, because I'd like to hear. Make sure to follow us on Reading Queens Pod on Instagram. Also, before you go, please give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a star rating or a review. And then tell everybody to come listen to our podcast, because we're doing some fun things and we would like you to be here. And that is
And
all.
we're awesome.
And we are awesome. So there is that. How can you say no? Okay, bye.
Bye.